Hey, it's John Nolan here. Listen, I could tell you that gas prices are going up, food prices are going up, inflation's going up, but you already know that. When it comes to important life decisions in my life, I pay close attention to my intuition and to the science that I'm getting. And lately, more and more people from the food industry, trucking industry, packaging industry have been telling me, listen, a big crash is coming. We're going to have huge food shortages, and I pay attention to that. People are moving out to the country. They're growing their own food. That's exactly what everyone needs to do, but also prepare in the short term, have emergency food ready. That's why we partnered with My Patriot Supply. So if you hop over to preparewithinspired.com, you can save $150 on a 3-month emergency food supply kit today. We just encourage you to look it up. If this is the right thing for you, do it now. Go over to preparewithinspired.com. Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. It's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for joining me again today. And today I'd like to dive into one of the greatest cognitive dissonances that we are observing today among a lot of people, especially those who might consider themselves in a state of spiritual awakening, physical awakening in all areas. This has come to light because in the past months, we have increasingly showed certain things that are presenting themselves more clearly that are happening in the world. The absolute breakdown of the system as it is crumbling down, as we're looking at the financial, the economic system, as we're looking at the food supply chain, as we're looking at gas, as we're looking at the socio-economic structure of our society that is absolutely falling apart. And a lot of times when we talk about these things, and we always talk about them in context, there will be feedback coming from people that say you're fear-mongering, you're projecting something negative, you are showing the worst picture. And I want to make something abundantly clear. We are rooting, we're actually cheering for this system to fall down. In this one particular regard, we are absolutely on par with this dark force in saying that this system needs to come down. I want to make this clear, but let me go a little deeper into as to why and why this is such a great and wonderful opportunity. Number one, the system, and when I talk about the system, let's take one thing that drives everything, which is the financial system, the monetary system. The current central banking monetary system that is in all countries today now, which basically gives the greatest power within a society, within an economic structure, which is the power over money, to a conglomerate of private bankers that are really not accountable to anyone. This system was put in place exactly so what is happening today can happen. There were a few things why this system was created. It was created the way it was created. Number one is this is a debt-based fiat system, which means that there is no money as such. There's only debt notes. Everything that you perceive to be money is actually credit, is actually debt that's created. Now, when you take out a loan for, let's say, $20,000, you don't owe the bank $20,000. You owe the bank $20,000 plus interest. Now, that interest is not created with the $20,000 when you take out that loan, because that's what happens. Every time you take out a loan, new money is created. It's just being typed into the system. But it never includes the interest rate. And the interest is what we're all kind of fighting over with each other while we're constantly in this ever-increasing circle of commerce. This system was created to essentially transfer wealth over a certain period of time. It's usually 80, 90, 100 years. We're at the end of this cycle, and the transfer has all but happened now from the masses to a very small group of people. This is the legitimate transfer of wealth. Of course, it's not legitimate because those who control the monetary system control the rules of the game. But this system was never meant to last. It wasn't designed. It's mathematically impossible. As a matter of fact, something very predictable happened over the past 2 years, that about 50% of the money that's in circulation today was created over the past 2 years, which is, of course, the main reason why we have this inflation. But this was all planned. This is all rolled out in pre-planned stages. There's no emergency that triggers this. There's no crisis that triggers this. This is what the crisis is produced with. So this whole system was built around that. And it is basically an enslavement system that keeps the common people in a constant loop where they're behind the 8 ball, where they're rushing, where they're enslaving themselves, where they're trading their lifetime, their life force for a certain amount of dollars. And they're doing it consistently over 40, 45 years. Their bodies break down, their psyche break down. I don't say it's happening to everyone, but the way this system is built, it is now all but evident today in the world with 60 to 70% of the population in this country that are on some sort of prescription drug. Just think about it, 60 to 70%. Probably the real number is even higher. We're not even talking about other drugs that are not prescription drugs. We're not talking about alcoholism. We're not talking about suicide rates. We're not talking about the breakup of the families. We're not talking about the complete erosion of the moral fabric of society. So if you look at what this system has produced, it is one big failure. So why? Some of you would think that it is fear-mongering to report on its crumbling down. It's not fear-mongering. It's actually a celebration. At the same time, we're saying, get ready for this, because this system so far has made it possible for all of us to live our lives without having to worry about where our essential needs will come from, in terms of we always knew there's a store we can go to, and if we have the paper, we can get the goods, right? We can get the food, we can get the clothes, we can get the water, we can get the electricity, we can get all the essentials that we believe we need. And some of those we truly need. So, but what is happening, and it is absolutely evident now, is that this is crumbling down by design, because the overlords of this system, consciousness-less beings, they don't have consciousness as you and I perceive it to be. They are at the stage where they want to implement a greater final control system. As we've talked about, transhumanism, posthumanism, basically get rid of the human population. This is going to happen within the next years. This is their final plan. So for that to happen, they first need to bring this system down, and that's what they're doing. So this is not fear-mongering on our world. We're actually celebrating the fact. It's not the food supply chain. Most of the stuff that you get in the grocery stores is not food. And 90% of the stuff on the shelves today in a grocery store didn't exist 100 years ago. Neither did 90% of the sicknesses and illnesses and allergies that we have today, because it's not real food. It's artificial crap. So that all being said, so many of you who are now saying, well, this is fear-mongering, were the same people who have over years and years and years criticized the system. Well, now your criticism has come to fruition. It's coming down. The question is, what are you going to do? Are you going to cling on? Are you going to hold on for dear life and hope that it doesn't? Are you going to hope that we can perpetuate this for longer? Are you going to actually work for the perpetuation of this? Or are you actually going to step out of it and say, hey, it's time for me to create something different. It's time for me to make different decisions in my life. And most importantly, it's time for me to take back responsibility for the essential needs of myself and my family. Now, here's the thing. This isn't something that you can put off for another year, not even for really another month. You shouldn't put this off for any period of time. This should be at the forefront of your mind, because as we said, there is a super great chance that you won't be able to rely on any of these systems any longer, starting pretty much today. You are not in control of the gas price. They can easily prop it up to $10 or $12, whatever the price is, which will make it impossible in your current lifestyle to rely on that or use it as much as you have to do the things you have been doing. The food supply chain has been critically injured in many parts. Links have been destroyed completely. We're now seeing, we've seen this, such a huge number of food plants, processing plants, chicken plants, and all that stuff that has exploded, burned down, or whatnot. Never before in history. We see cattle by the thousands and tens of thousands just falling over from heat at the same time. Just 10,000 head of cattle just up in the air and dead at the same time because of heat, because that's how animals die of heat strokes, all at the same time. This is happening, whether you want to hear it or not. What is more important is, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to ensure at least a transitioning period? Because the future, for those who want to remain in a more natural state of being, in a more divinely connected state of being, for those who want to actually explore who they really are as human beings, well, the future is going to be self-reliant. It means we will have to take care of our own needs. We'll have to come together in communities more and more and more, and let go of our egotistical desires to gather stuff. This is just not sustainable as a lifestyle. It's actually very stressful, but more importantly, it won't allow us to survive. So really, what are the essential needs? Water, food, shelter, clothing. Let's take those. Those are really essential needs. Water, food, shelter, clothing. What is your contingency plan on this? What are your thoughts on this? How are you planning to sustain yourself at least for 3, 4, 5 months? What would happen if the power went out for longer periods of times? What would happen if the banks closed for longer periods of times? What would happen if grocery stores closed for longer periods of times? Would you want to be at the mercy of your government and stand in line to get your ration of food? Would you want to be at the mercy of your government to stand in line and get blankets to keep warm? Would you want to be completely dependent on a power grid that doesn't allow you to heat, or doesn't allow you to cool, or doesn't allow you to have any sort of power? Now, I would say electricity truly is already the first luxury. We don't need it to survive. We're very dependent on it with everything that we use today. For most people, the vast majority of people, it is essential to create income. But I'm seeing a period coming where the thoughts need to shift on the basic needs. We haven't done this in Western society for such a long time. Unless you're a farmer or rancher, there's really very few people who have thought like this. What are my essential needs, and can I provide for them? Can you grow food? We have featured Jim Gale in Food Forest Abundance, for example, the permaculture idea of mimicking nature, how beautifully and easily this can be done. We'll put the link in the description. Jim Gale of Food Forest Abundance is actually on a mission to bring this to the whole world. We've talked about the vision of Anastasia from the Ringing Cedar Books. We've talked about these things so much, but talk is cheap. You gotta take the first steps and gotta go into action. The time is really now. And we want to emphasize one more time, for us, it is not fear-mongering. We want this system to come down. We want it to transform. We want to change it around, and we're willing to accept that there will be a split in society into people who will go the artificial route simply because they want that, someone taking care of them. They want the government to be their big papa and take care of them and give them everything. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. And then there's people like us who absolutely, this is the hill we're willing to die on. We'll never do that. We'll never insert ourselves into this dystopian artificial vision because it is not in our hearts to do it. So if you feel the same way, think about the most essential things in your life. Get very practical. The Creator gave us everything. The natural realm is abundant. It's all around us. We just need to reconnect with it and bring it to fruition. That is the plan here. So once again, this is happening. What are you going to do? It's a question. Begin answering step by step today. If you need some inspiration, if you want some at least short, midterm food security, stuff like that, we'll put a bunch of links in the description. Things that we have done. Yes, we have a garden. Yes, we grow our own food. Yes, we have independent supplies that are away from big stores, that are local, that are based on real relationships. But also, we have stored or created a good amount of food storage, something that will be there even when nothing else works out, even when there's no electricity we can use and eat. We have done all that, and we've prepared ourselves over a period of time, watching what is going on in the world and actually celebrating that it's finally happening. Now, is it the way we picture it in our minds to be? Well, it usually is not. But more often than not, it's even better, and we'll just know in hindsight what the verdict on that one is. All right, Inspired Tribe, thank you so much for tuning in. We love you. We appreciate you. And please, begin now, right now,